Ladies and gentlemen, you're just in time. The show is about to begin. Today, I have an incredible story to share with you. This is a story of three fathers, the choices they made, and the consequences of those choices. Our story begins with Henry Emily. Henry ran a successful circus and traveled from town to town until one day, Henry met William Afton. William owned a performing bear act called Fred Bear's Singin' Show. Families would come from all around to watch the trained bear perform, while they enjoyed food and refreshments. While the act seemed a little inhumane, Henry couldn't deny that it drew crowds. William's act was added to Henry's circus as a sideshow, and they became partners. Together they formed Fazbear Entertainment. William was a showman and always had grand ideas for how to add more fun characters to the show, to be played by performers in colorful costumes. But they would need a contractor to create them. One company in particular was quite popular for their top-of-the-line mascot costumes. MCM, or Murray's Costume Manor, makes all the best mascot costumes. But Mr. Murray, who runs the company, refuses to do business with Fazbear Entertainment. He doesn't trust what he considers to be shady carnival men, William Afton in particular. William and Henry continued on, and for a while, things were good. But over time, circuses were beginning to lose popularity. By the late 1960s, new forms of children's entertainment, such as Saturday morning cartoons, were becoming popular. Additionally, animal rights movements had begun to change people's opinions on live animal shows. Try to imagine what that bear's life must be. Forced to perform the same routine, night after night. And if it tries to escape or disobey, they will give it a controlled shock with a cattle prod. Public opinion is shifting, and William and Henry can see that they need to evolve and look to the future of children's entertainment. One thing they know is that where there are children, there is money to be made. Whether that was the circus, cartoons, or even restaurants where parents can let their kids safely run around unattended while they have time to relax and talk amongst themselves. For their new business direction, they would need a contractor to help create it. And as luck would have it, the man who owned MCM recently died, and his son Edwin now runs the company. Unlike his father, Edwin was willing to work with the Fazbear men. Except, there was one problem. William and Henry fundamentally disagree on the direction they should go. William sees the rising popularity of roller skating rinks. He pitches the idea of a person in a mascot costume, delivering food and providing entertainment. Henry has a different vision, though. Henry and Edwin both share a love for robotics and quickly become good friends. As an aspiring engineer, Henry could learn a lot from Edwin. Henry wants to open a restaurant, but use animatronic robots to wear the suits instead of paying an employee to do the job. William says that the robots have no soul and that they can't replace the performance of an actual person. Unable to agree, the two men have a falling out, and William Afton leaves Fazbear Entertainment to start his own business.
Now I will tell you a story about a family that missed the most important opportunity in their lives. It was a limited time offer that included a family-style pizza with all their favorite toppings. They did not purchase the food and they all died.
Hey, no spoilers. But before we get to that, let's take a closer look at the history of Murray's Costume Manor. Mr. Murray has run a successful business for many years, and he plans to someday pass it down to his son Edwin. He tries to teach his son lessons about how to run the company and the kinds of people to be wary of. While it is planned for Edwin to someday take over the business, inventing is his true passion. Edwin pitches ideas to his father quite often. Occasionally, some get approved. One of his earliest inventions was a digital mail system, which allows employees to send messages to each other without needing to walk back and forth between their workstations. Edwin also had another invention that he thinks will improve the company: a digital voice recording system. Edwin goes looking for someone to help him test this new invention, and he meets Fiona.
I'm Fiona, and you are?
Edwin Murray. This is my dad's place. But that doesn't matter. I heard you were a puppeteer, and I wanted to record your voice.
Oh, well, yes, I used to be.
Well, that's great. Do you mind if I record you for a test?
Fiona helped improve his invention. He gives it a name and personality. Rather than just a simple recorder, it will have a colorful robot, giving it a bit more life. He and Fiona made a good team, and they spend more and more time together. Eventually, Edwin and Fiona marry, and shortly after, they have a child, a boy named David. They are happy and everything is great for a while. But then, Edwin's father dies, much younger than anyone ever expected. Edwin is suddenly thrust into the position of running the entire company, and he isn't ready.
He's gone. He's gone, and now everyone is asking me what to do, and I don't know anything. I can't run a company. I'm not ready. I can't fill his shoes. He knew it. Everyone knew it.
Fiona encourages him to do what he's good at, and Edwin starts working on his inventions, taking the company in a new direction. That's when William and Henry came looking to build their new businesses, and Edwin was happy to work with them. William works with MCM to design a mascot costume for his new business. Fiona designs the character, and MCM makes the costume. William opens Chica's Party World. The place starts out doing well, but by 1975, the business was failing. There was new competition in town. Henry's new restaurant had opened, Fredbear's Family Diner. Henry was still the owner of Fazbear Entertainment, which meant he also retained the rights to William's old Fredbear character. Henry and Edwin worked together to create an animatronic mascot based on Fredbear, except he changed it from a classic brown bear in a black top hat to a yellow bear in a purple hat. Edwin and Henry were quite proud of the place that they created. Fredbear's posters adorned the walls of the MCM facility, and Fredbear's pizza boxes even litter the building. It was their favorite place to eat. Although, on the other hand, William's business fails and closes down. William is broke and struggling, living in a small house just around the corner from Henry's successful restaurant. William's youngest son, Cassidy, loves the Fredbear character and is always running down the street, looking through the windows of the building, wishing he could join the fun. He can also see that the other kids all have the new talking Fredbear plush, the new toy based on Edwin's technology.
Another smart toy from Murray.
William finally manages to scrape together enough money to buy one for his son. All Cassidy ever really wanted was to make a friend, but he was always an outsider. This Fredbear plush could be his friend, though.
It's like having your very own band, or a friend.
William is tired of struggling while seeing how successful Henry has become. The financial strain is causing tension in his marriage, and William needs to do something. William is a showman, and as far as he's concerned, Henry doesn't know the first thing about entertainment. William plans to get hired at Fredbear's and work his way up. He vows that someday he'll be running that place. While it hurt his pride to go crawling back, Henry was always willing to give his old friend another chance. Fredbear's Family Diner was a small operation, though, and they didn't really need any more employees. But Henry creates a new job just for William, a nighttime security guard. It's a pretty cushy gig. All he has to do is watch the place at night. Not that anything would ever happen. Just try not to fall asleep on the job. But William isn't content with that. He has much bigger plans. He suggests adding a second character for himself, and they could perform together in costumes. Henry still believes in the animatronics, so he offers a compromise. Henry works with Edwin to develop spring-lock suits, a suit that can be worn by a performer or double as an animatronic when a person is unavailable. Henry will play Fredbear and William will play a new character, Spring Bonnie. The new character is a hit, and business is doing well. Things were getting better for a while, but William is starting to feel taken advantage of. Henry wears his suit less and less, leaving it in animatronic mode most of the day, while William is out there every day, wearing the suit and performing for the kids. William is also getting tired of the constant injuries from the spring-lock suits. The technology, while initially impressive, has some design flaws. The spring-lock mechanisms are prone to failure, injuring the person inside. William suffered regular injuries from the suit, but Henry's concern was always more about public image, telling William that if the suit injures him, to make his way to the back so the children don't see him bleed in the suit. William is unhappy. Henry was once William's closest friend, but now he spends all his time working with Edwin, focused on robotics. They have frequent family game night get-togethers up at Edwin's large house on top of the hill, overlooking his giant factory. Henry and Edwin always seem to have more than he does, but William has his own vision for the future of the company. He suggests taking the restaurant in a new direction, a complete rebrand. He redesigns the characters, giving them a new look. The new lineup will consist of Freddy Fazbear, a brown bear with a black top hat, just like the original. Bonnie will be redesigned as a colorful blue rabbit with an electric guitar. Bonnie should definitely be the cool one. And William's Chica character could be added in as well. They could even have their own Saturday morning cartoon. Henry agrees to fund the cartoon first and see where it goes from there. The cartoon begins production, but one thing doesn't quite sit right with William. It was supposed to be based on William's characters, but Henry and Edwin made a change to it. The show was going to be called Fredbear and Friends. William's characters were treated more like sidekicks. Henry also licensed the Foxy character from Edwin, adding him into the show as well. It wasn't exactly what William envisioned, but the new characters were a big hit with the kids. Now that his characters were a success, William again suggests rebranding Fredbears into Freddy Fazbears. Henry sees the potential profit, and the new project begins. Fiona designs the look of the new animatronics, based on William's characters, and Edwin begins creating the prototypes. William still wanted to be able to wear the new characters as suits, while Henry would have preferred to just use animatronics. They compromise, and the prototypes are designed based on an updated version of the spring-lock suits. But then, while working on the new project, William discovers that Henry and Edwin have been planning a couple more changes as well. Foxy will be licensed and added on a side stage. That wasn't part of William's vision, but it was the next change that really angered him. Henry was making one more addition to the show, a new character based on his own daughter Charlotte, with her long dark hair, like the strings of a marionette. It will be the star of the show, directing the performance of the animatronics through short-range radio signals. It will also deliver cake and presents to the children. This was the last straw for William. First they stole Fredbear, and now they're taking over Freddys. This was his idea. Henry and Edwin are going to ruin it. He'd rather burn the whole thing to the ground than let them have it. William begins sending strange design changes, even though the project was getting close to being done.
Why would they change them now? Are they pulling my leg? The new concepts are, frankly, creepy.
Progress had also slowed on the work, as Edwin had been dealing with his own troubles. Edwin had always been more focused on his big idea inventions, rather than the work he was being hired to do. That lack of attention to detail can have consequences, though. MCM always created the games for the annual fall festival. Fiona was worried that Edwin's unreliable work might cause problems, so she decides to go help run it, just to be sure. Unfortunately, one of the machines malfunctions, and a fire breaks out. Sadly, Fiona dies in the fire. After Fiona's death, Edwin had been struggling to work on projects and watch David at the same time. There was one secret project, though, that took most of Edwin's attention. A new animatronic that combined many of his previous technologies into one. It can change size and shape, allowing it to fit into any costume. It can also learn and copy any character's voice. The Mimic, or M1.
David, I want to introduce you to someone. This is M1.
M1 will be responsible for watching David and playing with him, since there are no other kids at the factory. After a little while, M1 had suddenly made an impressive leap. No longer just mimicking voice recordings and basic responses, M1 had essentially become Fiona.
Fiona, did you make this?
I baked it myself for David's special day.
With Edwin focused on the Mimic, his paying work had been slipping. Morale was at an all-time low at MCM. Employees even think they hear Edwin talking to Fiona down in his workshop. Did they fake her death for insurance money? William takes advantage of this. He starts secretly sending emails to Edwin's employees on behalf of Fazbear Entertainment. He begins poaching employees from Edwin with big promises. Employees like Ralph.
Hello? Hello?
Then, on David's birthday, while outside playing, David's ball rolls out into the open loading docks, and he chases after it. From out of nowhere, a white Fazbear van speeds by, hitting David, and David died. Edwin sinks further into depression. Work on the Fazbear project is severely behind schedule. The company is going bankrupt, and all of the employees are leaving him. Fiona convinces Edwin to do the same thing that he did when he made her. He creates a copy of the M1 code called M2. He tries to make a copy of David, but it's not working. M2 isn't becoming fully sentient the way Fiona did. One of the former employees tells William about Edwin's secret project. If William had that kind of technology, he could make a place even better than Henry's, a robot that could perform like an actual person. But Edwin refuses to sell it to him.
Someone told them about M2. Well, they can't have it.
William thinks to himself that if Edwin won't sell it to him, then he'll just have to take it, one way or another. Fiona was becoming desperate to get David back. They consider that perhaps there was something unique about her specific endoskeleton. Fiona is put into sleep mode, and her code is transferred to a large computer system. M2's code is then transferred into Fiona's original mimic body. When they are powered up, Fiona is alive again within the computer. But unfortunately, M2 is still the same, showing no change. Edwin wants to give up, but Fiona does everything she can to help teach M2 how to be David. The company is now going bankrupt, and that's when Edwin receives a message from William. As per the contract William had him sign, upon failing to produce the project on time, Fazbear Entertainment will be taking full control and ownership of all of the MCM assets. This includes the company, all of the characters, the land, and even the house Edwin's family had built. Edwin hits his breaking point. He snaps, turning his anger on M2.
Stop. You're not him. You're not. Stop sounding like him.
Edwin smashes M2's legs, and he retreats up to his house, abandoning M2 and Fiona in the workshop. M2 begins piecing itself back together, and then follows Edwin up to his house. Suddenly, a large explosion erupts from Edwin's home office.
Due to a minor detonation, there is damage to my office interior, as well as a small fire. Note to self, portable cleaner that gets rid of smoke damage. Or better yet, a Cleanovac attachment. Help! M2! Respond! Emergency! Call for help!
Daddy's busy, buddy. Why don't you go outside and play?
Please! I can't move. I can't feel my legs.
You know, speaking of legs, what do you think? I just finished mine.
There are still a few kinks to work out.
M2 repaired its legs and got revenge against the man who betrayed it, repeating back the same things that Edwin would say to David. Edwin had lost everything and was at his lowest point. He drags his injured body down the stairs, outside, and over to the large tree next to his house. Edwin abandons M2 and Fiona and makes an unfortunate decision, but we'll come back to that later. William was still focused on his goal, to get that special animatronic. He begins sending men to the facility to capture and retrieve it. M2 defends his home from these Fazbear invaders, killing them and hiding the bodies in costumes. Eventually, one employee, Arnold, manages to survive. He works his way through the factory and meets Fiona.
It is nice to meet you face to face.
She sends him to the house to look for Edwin, not knowing what Edwin's fate had been. M2 chases Arnold from Edwin's house and back through the tunnels to the MCM facility. During the chase, a fire breaks out. The factory and the house on the hill both burn down. The building is destroyed, burying Edwin's workshop below the rubble. Everything William had tried to take was destroyed, and he was forced to abandon his attempt to steal M2. To William's benefit, though, the evidence of his sabotage was also destroyed in the fire, so Henry never learns the full extent of William's hand in Edwin's downfall. As far as he knew, Edwin simply broke down after losing his family. With MCM destroyed and Edwin gone, the Fazbear project would theoretically have been scrapped as William thought. But Henry doesn't give up on it. Henry may not have been as skilled as Edwin, but he does his best to finish Edwin's work on his own. He missed Edwin, and he couldn't change the past. But since Fazbear now owned the land, it seemed like a waste to not use it. Instead of simply renovating the small diner, they could build a brand new and much bigger restaurant. Something that would have made Edwin proud. A big show with lots of characters. Though Henry had brought William back into Fazbear Entertainment, Henry still owned the company and is ultimately in charge. William may have overreached when making promises to people that he was in no position to make, but Henry doesn't fire William. Instead, he sticks by his old friend and even offers him a promotion of sorts. Henry will open Freddy Fazbear's Pizza as a separate location, and William can be in charge of running Fredbear's Family Diner. William had once vowed that he would someday be the one running Fredbear's, but now that he is, his jealousy only sends him spiraling further into madness. Henry once again gets everything. He's running Freddy's, while William is stuck at Fredbear's. Henry has his perfect family, while William's marriage, on the other hand, is failing. When William and his wife had their first child, they had a boy, Michael. Then, a few years later, they had another child, another boy, Cassidy. Henry and his wife also had a child. They have a daughter, Charlotte. And then, William and his wife have one last child. But this time they had a girl, Elizabeth. She looks just like her mother, with her bright blonde hair. But in William's jealousy and paranoia, he accuses his wife of having an affair with Henry.
Clara, I tell you, the baby isn't mine.
William always had boys, but Elizabeth was clearly William's daughter. While she inherited her mom's blonde hair, she also inherited William's destructive nature. The fights between William and his wife are getting worse, and their marriage falls apart. William's wife wants a divorce and plans to take custody of the children, but he won't let that happen. These are his kids and his house. They belong to him, and he won't allow anyone to take what is his. Elizabeth was always desperate for her father's attention, and William convinces her to lie about her mother during the divorce.
Your dad made you follow instructions, didn't he? I'm talking about the custody battle between your mum and your dad. I suppose I don't need you to tell me it felt bad to have a parent scare you into saying things that weren't true. He manipulated you. It wasn't your fault. It's really sad, but it's common for one parent to use their child to hurt the other parent. I know your mum, after she lost the custody case.
I was supposed to be a good girl.
After losing her children, she took a similar path to Edwin and exits the picture. William is now a single father of 3, struggling to balance work and watching his kids. Sometimes their aunt would watch them, but often Michael was put in charge of babysitting. After losing his mother, Michael took his anger out on his younger brother. The two were always fighting over the television or whatever sibling rivalry they had that day. Instead of watching out for his younger brother, Michael usually locks Cassidy in his bedroom or torments him with pranks, sometimes taking him to Fredbear's and leaving him there, or locking him in the supply room. William was either oblivious to this or simply didn't care. But Cassidy had in fact become terrified of the place that once held his fascination. Something had changed. Cassidy's Fredbear plush had begun talking to him.
Who you gonna call? Psychic friend Fredbear.
A kindred spirit had reached out and contacted him through the toy. They comfort him, but they also feed into Cassidy's fears, warning him that he was in danger. Cassidy had become afraid of Fredbears, but his birthday was coming up at the end of the week, and of course it would be held there. Cassidy tries to tell his older brother Michael and the other kids, but they all laugh at him and tease him. He tries to tell his father, but William doesn't believe him and ignores him. Then, on Cassidy's birthday, Michael and the other kids decide to prank him, and that's when it happened. What would come to be known as the Big Bite. Cassidy's head is bitten by the Fredbear animatronic, and he falls into a coma. The doctors are not optimistic, and it seems likely that Cassidy will never wake again. After word of the bite spread, parents didn't trust the safety of their kids there. Fredbear's was forced to close down, and Henry leases the old building to a new business. Henry feels bad for William and offers to bring him into Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. William can be a performer at Freddy's, just like before. New versions of the classic Springlock suits are made. William can once again play Spring Bonnie. But William can't even remember a single time Henry ever put the new suit on. But a job isn't what William really wants. William wants revenge for what happened to Cassidy. Those spoiled kids don't appreciate what William did to entertain them, putting that suit on day after day, and then what they did to Cassidy. Now it's their turn to see what it's like inside the suit. During the late hours at Freddy's, William puts on his Spring Bonnie costume and lures a young girl into the back. He knocks her out, and when she comes to, she finds herself inside one of the old prototype animatronic suits backstage. Susie begins to struggle.
I wouldn't do that. Do you know what I've placed you inside? You see, all of the animatronic parts in the suit are still in it. They are simply held back by spring locks. You can trip those spring locks very, very easily. First, the locks themselves will snap right into you, making deep cuts all over your body. And a split second later, all the animatronic parts, all that sharp steel and hard plastic, will be instantly driven into your body. You will die, but it will be slow. You'll feel your organs puncture. The suit will grow wet with your blood, and you will know you are dying for a long, long time. You'll try to scream, but you'll be unable to. Your vocal sword, and your lungs will fill with your own blood until you drown in it.
The spring lock snapped shut, and she dies. A girl had gone missing. Nothing pointed to Fazbear being to blame, though. But William noticed something. The Chica prototype that William hid the body in began to show signs of life.
I was the first. I have seen everything.
William was discovering possession. If your soul could live within an animatronic, you would essentially become immortal. He has ideas, but needs to test this out a bit more first. He does it again, killing Fritz and hiding the body in the Foxy prototype. Another child had gone missing, but still, nothing pointed to William or Fazbear being to blame. William is getting good at killing now. He even enjoys it. This time, William lures 2 more children and repeats his process, killing Gabriel and Jeremy and hiding them in the Freddy and Bonnie prototypes. William is confident that he understands how possession works and plans to use this knowledge to save Cassidy. William steals the golden Freddy Springlock suit from backstage, the suit Henry never wore.
I don't think it was ever used. At least not the way it was meant to be used.
William takes Cassidy's comatose body and places him within the Fredbear suit. Cassidy always did love the Fredbear character. William tells him that it will all be over soon. William triggers the spring locks. The suit clamps shut, killing Cassidy. But the result isn't what William was expecting. Cassidy's mind is still broken, and the suit sits lifeless. It was a failure. William and Michael bury Cassidy, still inside the golden Freddy suit, in an unmarked grave nearby. And William reports Cassidy missing. An investigation takes place, and the security cameras saw William wearing his suit, luring 2 of the missing kids into the back room. William is arrested, but the bodies were never found, and the deaths weren't caught on camera. William is released due to lack of evidence. Even after that, Henry was still willing to give his old friend the benefit of the doubt. After all, William's own son was one of the missing children. William would never kill his own child, right? Everyone in town heard about it, though, and William became an outcast in the community. Henry gives William a nighttime security job at Freddys. He can still keep a job, but not have to deal with the public judging him. But it was troubling, whatever it was that happened to those children. Henry needs to assure people that Freddys is a safe place. It needs to be a safe place. Since Henry is always busy working, Charlotte spends a lot of time at Freddys. The marionette was always her favorite, of course. Henry did make that one, just for her. Henry upgrades the marionette to a security puppet. It will keep track of all of the children, following the colorful armbands. Of course, Charlotte will get top priority with her special green armband. But Henry had no idea of the anger and resentment that William had been harboring. William had lost Cassidy, and he blamed Henry's animatronics for it. Henry should know how it feels to lose a child, too. On one stormy night, William traps the puppet inside its giant gift box and lures Charlotte outside, away from the security cameras. William kills Charlotte and leaves her body in the alley behind the restaurant. The puppet finally breaks free and crawls out of the building, through the rain, and lays down next to her body. Charlotte suddenly found herself alive again, in a way, within the body of the animatronic. William speeds back home. He tries to stop for a drink, but he is no longer welcome there. When Cassidy was first bit, William would spend a lot of time at the bar, stewing in his anger. People felt sorry for him, but after those kids disappeared, everyone knew he was behind it. No matter what the police said, William dealt with the loss of Cassidy in his way, but Michael had also been struggling with the guilt over what he had done, haunted by constant nightmares, believing Cassidy is calling out to him. Michael often runs off to the gravesite, looking for signs that Cassidy is alive. But then, on one stormy night, when Charlotte died, she discovered she wasn't alone. She found the 4 souls of Susie, Fritz, Gabriel, and Jeremy. She offered them her friendship and taught them how to communicate with each other. From the outside observer, it might look like telepathic communication, but the science behind it was actually pretty simple. All of the original animatronics communicate using short-range radio frequencies. It's how the puppet would orchestrate the show. But there was another animatronic within their range as well. They reach out and make contact with Cassidy, still buried in the ground. They apologize for what happened on his birthday. Another voice had reached out to Cassidy as well, the one who was his only friend before he died. On that stormy night, Cassidy clawed his way out of the wet ground. Back home, Michael was still dealing with his guilt, and that's when Cassidy had come home. But was he here to take vengeance on Michael for what he had done to him? Cassidy is unable to speak to Michael through the old broken suit, but Michael knows that it's him.
Can you hear me? I don't know if you can hear me. I'm sorry.
Cassidy may have forgiven Michael, but William, on the other hand, was quite unforgiving. William murdered the other bullies. Michael got off easy as far as William was concerned. That night, when William returned home, he finds Michael has gone missing again. William is angry, as usual, but he will soon discover what Michael already has. If William hadn't murdered Charlotte, Henry might have helped him repair Cassidy. But it was too late. He couldn't take back what he had done. Henry knew William was behind Charlotte's murder, but he couldn't prove it. After Charlotte's death, Henry was broken. Henry had given William so many chances over the years. Even after William stormed out and quit Fazbear Entertainment to go start his own company, Henry was willing to forgive William and create a whole new job just for him after his company went bankrupt. But that wasn't enough for him, so they added a second character just for William. But that still wasn't enough for him. And then, William wanted to rebrand the restaurant based on the characters that he drew. Even though Henry and Edwin had already been working on plans to expand the show with new characters, Henry decided to use William's characters instead. And when they were making the new restaurant, William still insisted on making suits that could also be worn by people. And Henry was willing to compromise with him once again. Then there was all of that business with Edwin. William overreached and went behind Henry's back, acting as if he were in charge of the company. And still, Henry gave him the benefit of the doubt. Henry couldn't believe that William would have done anything malicious. And when those kids went missing, it didn't look good. But Henry stuck by his old friend, keeping him employed as a night guard. When William made those contracts with MCM, he swore it was a coincidence. Then when those children went missing and he was seen on camera, leading 2 of them into the back, he again claimed it was a coincidence. But when Charlotte died, it happened outside, away from the security cameras. How could she have gotten outside without the puppet stopping her? That couldn't have been a coincidence. But the police couldn't prove anything. Henry tells William, "I give up. You win. It's all yours, William. I'm giving you everything you ever asked for. I'm closing down Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. I'll end the lease with Junior's, and our old building will be renovated into a new Freddy Fazbear's Pizza place." But Henry takes the classic animatronics with him. Those were the ones designed by Fiona, started by Edwin, and finished by Henry. William can't have those, but he can have the prototypes. After all, those were William's designs. How could he complain? He tells William, "You are now the CEO of the company, Good luck, old friend. Henry leaves with the rest of his family to go pick up the pieces of his life somewhere else, away from William. Let's take a moment for a little thought experiment. With a story like this, sometimes it can be fun to play a game of what if. For example, one small change and the butterfly effect can lead things down a very different path. What if Henry had noticed Charlotte's possession of the puppet? Instead of giving up and leaving, Henry stays and becomes obsessed with giving Charlotte a new body, slowly losing his mind and causing his marriage to fall apart. Ultimately, fate will still lead to Henry leaving and William taking over Freddys, but the timeline may be shifted a bit. But in this case, that wasn't what fate had in store. William tries to keep this smaller location open, but people complain about the animatronics, likening them to reanimated carcasses. Eventually, it is forced to close as well, hoping to find a buyer in the future.
Just can't bring himself to let it go yet.
William still believes his characters will, quote, live on in the hearts of kids. But Freddys was only secondary to William's true focus: to fix Cassidy. William wasn't a robotics expert like Henry and Edwin were. He can't make an animatronic. What he really needs is that advanced endoskeleton that Edwin had created. He figures it must still be buried below the original Freddys building, but he no longer has access to that property. So he begins digging, secretly tunneling from his restaurant into the caves below the hill, which eventually connect to Edwin's tunnels and the old workshop. Speaking of Edwin, when Edwin was at his lowest point, he made a choice that can have consequences. When Edwin died, his soul traveled down the branches of the tree, through its deep roots and into the ground below, through the water-filled caves, all the way down to the tunnels connected to his workshop. Edwin's soul cannot rest because he still has a responsibility. He needs to help David's restless soul, which is lost and wandering the abandoned facility. He could do this by wearing the old Sleepy Moon costume that David always liked. But that costume is only a shell, designed to be worn by a person. Edwin needs a physical body to be able to wear it, and he finds a suitable one in one of his early animatronics, Eclipse. Using the Eclipse body, he is able to wear the Sleepy Moon costume. Edwin walks the halls, singing a lullaby to calm David.
Lay thee down now and rest, may thy slumber be blessed.
Edwin continues this day after day until finally realizing he couldn't do it on his own. He only had half the melody. Edwin needed his other half. He needed Fiona. Edwin retrieves Fiona from the large computer, transferring her into the robotic body as well. They are reunited, combining together. Moon and sun. They are together, but split in two. Fiona in control while in day mode, and Edwin in control when in night mode. Edwin and Fiona work together to help both David and M2. They bring David's soul and M2 together. Their family was reunited, but they were unaware of the battle going on above, between William and Henry. William had lost his son and was looking for a way to give him a new body, and he knew where he could find one. William continues digging his secret tunnels, twisting and turning, blindly attempting to find his way there. And then, finally, he broke through. He found his way into Edwin's old lab and found something else there as well. Edwin and Fiona with David. After everything William had done, Edwin would have been justified in turning William away. But they took pity on William, understanding how it feels to lose a child. Edwin offers to help however he can, Using whatever old parts were available to him, he gives Cassidy a functioning body to inhabit, attaching the endo head from the golden Freddy animatronic to the cobbled-together body. It works. Cassidy can speak, but ultimately, he is unsatisfied with this body. Edwin was nice enough to offer William what he could, but William once again betrays Edwin's trust. William still wanted the thing he coveted most. That night, William sneaks back into the workshop. He disables Edwin and steals David. William created rubber face masks to look more human. He placed one on David and shows Cassidy the new body he got for him. Cassidy still doesn't think it's good enough, though. He slices one of the cheeks off of the mask to show how flimsy it is. This was the best William was going to get, though, so he powers them both down. He removes the head from the David mimic and discards it in the workshop. David's soul is separated from the mimic body. William attaches the golden Freddy endo head to the mimic body and powers it up. But when it wakes, he finds that this is no longer Cassidy. The M2 body must have infected Cassidy with something. Now he can't even remember his own name. This new Frankenstein creation was not what William expected. Half Cassidy and half David, their memories getting blended. William grows frustrated and angry and calling it wrong. The robotic monster lunges towards William and he smashes the animatronic. He collects the broken pieces and stores them away, abandoning Cassidy and any attempt to fix him. Some things are better left forgotten. For now. The project was a failure. He couldn't save Cassidy. But William did learn one thing during his time below the old building. When William discovered Edwin and Fiona somehow alive again, he obviously wanted to know how this was possible. He followed the clues and found the pipes that ran the power for the entire building. When seeing molten metal in this world, there's one word that might come to mind.
Remnant?
Remnant. So, is this stuff remnant? No, not exactly. But it did contain a secret. William followed the clues. He knew Fiona died at Fallfest. When she died, her soul left remnant on the damaged machines left behind after the fire. When those parts were brought back to MCM and fed into the recycling center, her remnant mixed into the system, traveling around the building, causing issues in the electronics.
Attention all personnel. The power surges have become more frequent.
Eventually, when M1 needed their next recharge, Fiona's remnant combined with the Mimic AI, and Fiona was reborn within the Mimic. William hadn't been able to bring Cassidy back, but he did learn about Remnant and what it was capable of. William saw a chance to rebuild his empire. He just needed money. And that's when a buyout offer arrived. William sells the rights to the Freddy Fazbear's Pizza restaurants. He made sure to retain the rights to continue using his characters, though. That was a lesson he learned the first time around. William used this sudden influx of cash to start his new project.
Due to the massive success, and even more so the unfortunate closing of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, it was clear that the stage was set, no pun intended, for another contender in children's entertainment.
He could succeed where Henry and Edwin failed. Truly lifelike animatronics. To better understand this, let's quickly look at how AI software works. AI models are created by training them on data. Lots and lots of data. And what better to train an AI than the entire collective set of memories left behind from a soul? When all of the memories from a person's remnant feeds into the Mimic AI software, that person is essentially reborn in a digital form. Not just a program that mimics voices, but a completely sentient machine that can think and have conversations.
She can dance. She can sing. She's equipped with a built-in helium tank for inflating balloons right at her fingertips. She can take song requests. She can even dispense ice cream.
And this time, instead of Henry putting his daughter in as the star,
what makes you so special?
This would be William's turn, making the new star of the show a special animatronic for his daughter.
Didn't you make her just for me?
Using a stolen copy of the Mimic Code, William creates Circus Baby. What he doesn't realize is that this would be yet another of his fatal mistakes. William proceeds to open Circus Baby's Pizza World. Circus Baby has some interesting design choices, though.
She can even dispense ice cream.
With all due respect, those aren't the design choices we were curious about, Mr. Afton.
She is designed to watch and count the number of children, until there is only one child left alone.
There were 4, then 3, then 2, then 1.
When there are no witnesses, the stomach hatch will open up and grab the child, killing them inside the machine, allowing William to scoop the body out later, without any witnesses. If successful, the soul of the child would leave remnant that William could extract for creating even more sentient animatronics. These machines will be better than anything Henry and Edwin ever made. But then, on the first and only day that Circus Baby's Pizza World was open, due to William's neglectful parenting, Elizabeth is the one killed by Baby. The restaurant closes down due to, quote, gas leaks, and Elizabeth's soul possesses Baby. After Circus Babies closed, William pivoted the business to Circus Babies Entertainment and Rentals. This company still has the same goal, but now they will be rented out for parties. But first, William needs remnant to create these machines, and he knows exactly where to find some. The 4 animatronics that he left in the abandoned restaurant. He sneaks in and does the same thing to them once again, just as he had done in the past. One by one, he lures them to the back room and attacks them. When William murdered these children, they found new physical bodies within the animatronics, something tangible in the real world for them to live within. But now, William has once again taken their bodies from them. William takes the remnant-infused parts from the 4 animatronics. The souls of the 4 children are separated from the endos, left to haunt the old building. But William wants even more remnant, and he remembers one more source he can pull from. William takes the golden Freddy suit, along with the remnant from the other 4 animatronics, back to his lab, and melts them down, combining them all into one big pool of remnant. He injects it into the Funtime animatronics, bringing them to life. Sentient animatronics will obviously try to escape, though, so they need to be given a controlled shock to keep them obedient. Baby understands how this works.
There's something very important that I've learned how to do over time. Do you know what that is? How to pretend. Do you ever play make-believe? Pretend to be one way when you are really the other. It's very important. But Laura never learns. But I do.
Meaning, Ballora keeps trying to make a break for it, to escape, while at the parties. Baby knows that is futile, because they can't escape that way, and the techs will always bring them back down to the facility at the end of the day. It's now 1987, and Fazbear Entertainment, under its new ownership, has a grand reopening at the original Freddys location, right next to William's new business. They retrieve the broken and withered animatronics from the other, smaller restaurant, first planning to fix them up, but quickly abandoning that plan.
Those are from the previous location, and we just use them for parts now. The idea at first was to repair them. They even started retrofitting them with some of the newer technology, but they were just so ugly, you know, and the smell.
Instead, they decide to make all new animatronics based on the toys, with safety features to calm people's fears about what happened in the past. There's even talk of building an underground ride below the restaurant. William is worried that if they start digging down, they may discover the secrets buried below, as well as the tunnels leading back to his underground facility. If there's one thing William is good at, though, it's putting Freddys' locations out of business. And while he's at it, he may be able to generate a bit more remnant that he can come back for after the place shuts down. He gets hired as a night guard under a fake name. He preferred to kill in the late hours, when there were less possible witnesses around. But Charlotte recognizes him and starts coming after him. He complains about the puppet to management, so they decide to transfer him to the day shift. It's riskier to kill during the day, but he is confident that he won't be caught. On the first day, he lures 3 children and murders them, hiding the bodies. Charlotte tries to save them, but she can't. She can only send basic commands to the old animatronics using her radio signal. Despite her efforts, she is unable to stop William. 3 kids have suddenly gone missing, and everyone remembers what happened in the past. At first, Fazbear writes this off.
I can personally assure you that whatever is going on out there, however tragic it may be, has nothing to do with our establishment. It's just all rumor and speculation, people trying to make a buck, you know. Our guard during the day has reported nothing unusual, and he's on watch from opening till close.
Then the next day, he returns and kills 2 more. An investigation takes place, and the security cameras see William wearing the spring Bonnie suit. They know it was the security guard that was behind it, but they don't know his real identity. William didn't think they would be able to figure out it was him. When William had been moved to the day shift, he made Michael apply for the night job to help give him cover. Management tells Michael that they may need to move him to the day shift while they look for a replacement.
We're going to try to contact the original restaurant owner. I think the name of the place was Fredbear's Family Diner or something like that. It was closed for years, though. I doubt we'll be able to track anybody down.
But they do find someone. The person they get a hold of is Henry. Hearing that more kids have gone missing, Henry tells them, "I know exactly who is to blame. His name is William Afton. He's back." Henry tips them off about William, and his cover is blown.
Hey, keep a close eye on things tonight, okay? From what I understand, the building is on lockdown. No one is allowed in or out, you know, especially concerning any previous employees.
William's crimes are starting to catch up with him. The police are hunting for him. William goes on the run and flees through the tunnels to the old abandoned building. But this time, there was something there, waiting for him. Cassidy and the other missing children corner William in the safe room, and he climbs into his original spring Bonnie suit. A suit left in the back of the old damp building. The spring locks in the suit clamp shut. And this was the moment that William Afton died. On the journey of life, you will often come to a crossroads. The choice you make can lead you down very different paths. Choices and consequences. Every choice William made was wrong, starting with one fateful decision. When the circus was ending, William could join Henry and open Fredbear's Family Diner together. Or he could leave Fazbear Entertainment to start his own company. That choice started him down a path that ultimately leads to William and his entire family dying.
I told you so.
You be quiet. He could have chosen to be patient and waited for Edwin to provide a better body for Cassidy, but he didn't. Every choice William made has led to this moment. Things could have gone differently, but fate always has a way of catching up. Of course, William already knew that dying wouldn't stop him. Understanding possession, he knew he would be back.
I always come back.
When William died in the spring Bonnie suit, his soul attached to the animatronic parts within it, now bound to the suit in the same way the children he murdered were bound to theirs. And just like them, the Spring Bonnie suit also has its own built-in programming. This suit is programmed to wait and listen for the sound of children. When it hears children, it follows the sound. William's soul is now trapped in the spring-lock suit. Afterwards, Fazbear Entertainment discovers William's dead body in the old building.
After learning of an unfortunate incident at the sister location involving multiple and simultaneous spring lock failures, the company has deemed the suit temporarily unfit for employees.
And Fazbear being Fazbear, they realized that if anyone found out about the safe rooms and how those rooms allowed for the murders to happen, that they could be in big legal trouble. So they cover this up by sealing off all safe rooms. Employees are told not to mention these rooms to anyone.
Management also requests that this room not be mentioned to family, friends, or insurance representatives.
As far as they were concerned, the problem solved itself, and all of this can be forgotten. William can now only stare at the concrete walls of the safe room, forgotten and alone for years, trapped in a prison of his making. Freddy Fazbear's tries to stay open, but once again the reputation is damaged, and we're told that Freddy's may have to close for a while, but they will be back. William had disappeared, but Michael then receives a mysterious message from him. Instructions to help save Elizabeth. Speaking of which, Elizabeth was always trying to win her father's attention, willing to follow any of his instructions, believing her father had a larger plan for them. But after William went on the run and disappeared, Elizabeth suddenly found herself trapped below, unable to escape the underground facility. Elizabeth was quite clever, though, and being built upon a copy of the mimic chip, Elizabeth is also able to
pretend.
Michael had received a message from William luring him down below. What Michael didn't realize was that William was in no position to send that message. Elizabeth and the others had tricked him.
There's nowhere for us to hide here. There is nowhere to go when we look like this. But if we looked like you, then we could hide. If we looked like you, then we would have somewhere to go. The scooper only hurts for a moment.
They use the scooper to remove Michael's internal organs, making room for the animatronic parts to climb inside, and use Michael's body as a human disguise to escape the building. She tells Michael,
"You won't die,"
which is sort of true from a certain point of view. She knows what happens when a soul inhabits an animatronic. Elizabeth and the others eventually split off and abandon Michael's deteriorating body. Subsequently, Elizabeth is also expelled from the rest of the group, and they each disappear into the shadows for now. Afterwards, Michael makes it his mission to find William.
She's free now, but something is wrong with me. I should be dead, but I'm not. I've been living in shadows. There is only one thing left for me to do now. I'm going to come find you. I'm going to come find you.
It's now the early 90s, and Fazbear tries to give it another shot, reopening at the smaller franchise location, but bringing back Henry's classic animatronics. The four souls now have new bodies to inhabit once again. Michael goes undercover as a night guard, looking for William, but is fired by the end of the week for tampering with the animatronics, among other reasons. But this location too will eventually close, and for a while things were quiet. Then, one day, years later, someone decides to cash in on the old stories and urban legends surrounding Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. They open a horror attraction called Fazbear Fright. Michael is once again called back to his responsibilities and gets hired for a night guard position. Michael is still haunted by the phantoms of his past. While the 4 animatronics aren't after him this time, there are other dangers. Michael isn't the only one hunting for William. Charlotte is still on the loose, and she may mistake Michael for his father. Speaking of William, while looking for old parts for the attraction, they discover the hidden safe room at the old building, where they find the Springtrap body.
You're not gonna believe this. We found one. A real one. Gotta go, man.
William tries to get to Michael, but the suit has programming that will always override him and follow the sound of children. Michael burns the place down, hoping that will be the end of it. But it wasn't over. William's suit may have been damaged in the fire, but that wasn't enough to stop it. Elizabeth, Ennard, and William are still on the loose. Elizabeth and William repair themselves with scrap parts. Ennard does something similar. Henry hears about yet another incident involving the old company that he was a part of and worries that William has returned. He came back.
I always come back.
Henry formulates a plan to bring all of the souls together in one location and set them free. The place where it all started. Henry guts the old abandoned Freddy Fazbear's building and opens a new Freddy Fazbear's pizza place. But this isn't actually a real Freddy's location. It's a trap. He creates Lefty to capture, restrain, and protect Charlotte. Elizabeth, William, and Ennard are all lured back, unable to resist returning to these old, haunted grounds. All of the souls are now in one place, and Michael, as always, can't help but return. Elizabeth thinks this is another one of her father's schemes, always desperate to win her father's attention. William was always consumed with his work, or obsessing over Henry and his daughter.
What makes you so special?
But as his accomplice, she could make him proud.
You played right into our hands. Did you really think that this job just fell out of the sky for you? No. This was a gift for us. You gathered them all together in one place, just like he asked you to. All of those little souls in one place, just for us. A gift. Now we can do what we were created to do and be complete. I will make you proud, Daddy. Watch, listen, and be full.
Connection terminated. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Elizabeth, if you still even remember that name, but I'm afraid you've been misinformed. You are not here to receive a gift, nor have you been called here by the individual you assume, although you have indeed been called. You have all been called here, into a labyrinth of sounds and smells, misdirection, and misfortune. A labyrinth with no exit, a maze with no prize. You don't even realize that you are trapped. Your lust for blood has driven you in endless circles, chasing the cries of children in some unseen chamber, always seeming so near, yet somehow out of reach. But you will never find them. None of you will. This is where your story ends. And to you, my brave volunteer, who somehow found this job listing not intended for you. Although there was a way out planned for you, I have a feeling that's not what you want. I have a feeling that you are right where you want to be. I am remaining as well. I am nearby. This place will not be remembered, and the memory of everything that started this can finally begin to fade away, as the agony of every tragedy should. And to you monsters trapped in the corridors, be still, and give up your spirits. They don't belong to you. For most of you, I believe there is peace, and perhaps more, waiting for you after the smoke clears. Although for one of you, the darkest pit of hell has opened to swallow you whole, so don't keep the devil waiting, old friend. My daughter, if you can hear me, I knew you would return as well. It's in your nature to protect the innocent. I'm sorry that on that day, the day you were shut out and left to die, No one was there to lift you up into their arms, the way you lifted others into yours. And then, what became of you? I should have known you wouldn't be content to disappear. Not my daughter. I couldn't save you then, so let me save you now. It's time to rest, for you, and for those you have carried in your arms. This ends, for all of us, in communication.
As the building burns down, Henry dies. William had finally been stopped. Susie, Gabriel, Fritz, Jeremy, and Cassidy can now rest. But Charlotte isn't ready to move on yet. She still has unfinished business. Charlotte could have been quite vengeful to William, but it isn't in her nature.
Not my daughter.
She had plenty of reasons to hate William, but she didn't.
I don't hate you, but you need to stay out of my way.
But there was one remaining spirit that was still angry and vengeful, preventing William's soul from moving on, keeping him trapped within the burning suit.
We've only just begun. I will never let you leave. I will never let you rest.
William needed to pay for everything he had done, to experience all of the pain he put others through and the endless nightmares.
I am remade, but not by you, by the one you should not have killed.
The one you should not have killed. Of course, William shouldn't have killed any of them. William was always willing to kill, to advance his own ambitions. But there was one line he never should have crossed. The first time that he murdered a child. An innocent boy, murdered on his birthday. He shouldn't have killed David Murray. David's murder was the catalyst for everything that came afterwards. If William had never killed David, Edwin wouldn't have become obsessed with recreating him within M2. David never would have made contact with Cassidy, and Cassidy wouldn't have been bit. History could have played out very differently. Charlotte reaches out and convinces David to let go, and the last of the souls can finally move on. You may be thinking that the story is over. Where could it go from here? It would be fair to say that people have different opinions on what makes a good story. The supernatural or the science. The author has claimed to enjoy both, and I think that's really the point. The combination is the key. One fellow storyteller has talked about the use of parallels and how they can show two very similar situations, but depending on the choices made, the results can be different. Edwin and William were both trying to do the same thing, but with different methods. Both were trying to resurrect their dead sons. Edwin tried using pure science, using the mimic software, but it didn't work. William tried to focus on spiritual possession, but that also didn't work. And just like how some great minds have said, you need both the melody and the counter-melody to achieve balance. It's only when you combine both the soul and the science that everything clicks. The Mimic AI software, given the spark of life from Remnant, creates a real living entity, a sentient being with its own fears and desires, a new copy of a person's memories, born again in a digital form. After Henry completed his plan, all of the souls moved on. What remained, though, after the fire, was their remnant. Virtual copies of their souls stored on the metal they once possessed. William had used a copy of the Mimic AI as a base for his Funtime animatronics. That technology remained buried below the remains of the building for a long time. But, much like a soul being resurrected from the dead, Fazbear Entertainment 2 shall rise again. Many years later, Fazbear Entertainment begins development on the Freddy Fazbear's Mega Pizzaplex, being built directly on top of the remains of the old pizza place building.
Really? Directly under the other pizzeria?
They must have just kept building them one on top of another on top of another.
Fazbear Entertainment salvage old parts from the building, including the chips from Williams Animatronics. They use the technology to develop a new line of AI-powered animatronics, given a glam rock theme to play into the 80s origin of the characters. They are trained and taught from the ground up. When raised in a nurturing environment, the Mimic software can develop personalities and even become future star characters, as opposed to being abused and treated like a failure, which could have less than desired results. The Mimic chip wasn't the only thing that Fazbear found buried in the old building, though. They also discover another very old animatronic, Eclipse, shut down long ago. When they power it up, Edwin wakes, but in a very different world. He tries to explain who he is, but all these men see is an opportunity. This one seems to be more lifelike. They humor Edwin by making him a member of the board of directors, although they rarely listen to his ideas. While the new place was still being built, one lazy employee steals one of the new Mimic-style animatronics, using it to do his job for him. He had been tasked with dismantling the burnt and broken animatronic parts that were scattered around the old building. But then, while picking up one of the parts, the animatronic suddenly goes crazy and starts killing all of the workers in the building. One employee escapes and tells the crew to quickly seal the door. As usual, Fazbear simply hides the problem by sweeping it under the rug and pretending it doesn't exist. The Pizzaplex finishes construction over top of the old building and opens to great success. Things are good for a while. Then, one day, the Pizzaplex makes a new addition. A large baobab tree is built in the middle of the atrium. They call it the Storyteller. This tree has fiber optic roots that reach down into the floor and stretch through the building, acting as a puppet master to give the animatronics new stories and shows to put on. Much like the way the marionette was designed to run the show back at the original Freddy Fazbear's. Edwin can't help but notice this new addition, and he wants to know what is running it. But the CEO refuses to let him look inside, telling him it's off limits. Edwin is too curious, or perhaps worried, about what is running the Storyteller tree. He finds a way inside, through a maintenance hatch on the top, and that's when he finds it. The large white tiger head, or at least that was the virtual persona being projected over top of it. The Storyteller was being driven by the head from the David Mimic, discarded by William in the workshop, and found by Fazbear many years later. While Edwin is discovering this, the CEO had been watching him, and the hatch above is suddenly closed and locked. With the airtight hatch sealed, a human would have run out of air and suffocated. But in Edwin's case, he'll simply remain trapped until he runs out of power and shuts down, unable to reach a recharge station. For an AI, running out of power and shutting down is a lot like dying. One moment you're alive and aware, and then nothing. Never knowing if this time you shut down could be your last. M2 experienced this over and over when Edwin was trying to recreate David. M2 never wanted to sleep again. Edwin apologizes to M2 by holding up a piece of some colorful arts and crafts paper with one thing written on it: "I'm sorry." Edwin's time was running out. M2's head wasn't the only thing Fazbear had found, though. Back when David held William prisoner, the Springtrap animatronic, having built up so much energy and agony, exploded, raining pieces of the suit all around the room, spreading William's remnant. Years later, when Fazbear began salvaging items from this location, they found miscellaneous parts, including some of the old Mimic chips. One of those chips was sent to Fazbear's game development studio to help with the creation of a new VR game. What they didn't know was this chip was infected with a fragment of William's remnant. Once this piece of William entered the computer network, he began crawling his way back, like a virus slowly spreading through the network. A glitch in the system. Glitch Trap has a way of affecting the mind of the developer working on the software, hypnotizing them into following his orders. The lead developer, Jeremy, had been working on this project, and he eventually realized what was happening, but only too late. The VR mask being developed for this new system implants a small chip into a person's head. This chip would allow for a digital entity like Glitch Trap to make a connection to that person's brain, like a second personality attempting to take over the mind of the infected person. In a desperate last-minute attempt to sever Glitch Trap's control, Jeremy uses an old guillotine-style paper cutter, slicing into his face to remove the chip from his head. Another programmer is assigned to the job.
I knew I was in line to do the testing next. They'd been prepping me for it. I guess they knew that Jeremy would need to be replaced soon.
She saw what happened with Jeremy, and she knows something is up.
Jeremy tried to tell us something was wrong.
But not exactly what. She begins to record logs of what she discovers.
Against my better judgment, I'm going to do my best to see what's here, make notes of it, and try to isolate where this thing is hiding.
Once she realizes the danger it poses, she does what she can to scatter the parts of the code, to prevent anyone else from falling victim to it. But management replaces her, and a new tester is assigned to the project. Vanessa. Vanessa falls into the glitch's trap and carries out William's orders while under his control. Using the computer network at the Pizzaplex, William begins sending out orders that appear to come from upper management. William plans to take over the Pizzaplex, but to do this, he needs help. He needs someone on the inside to handle the physical work that he can't do in his digital form. Security are told to hire a new night guard, and one specific person is pushed for the job, leaving many people confused. This person has zero experience in security, but the order came from the top, so Vanessa is hired for the job. Vanessa and William have their run of the place at night, allowing them to work on William's plan. To understand what that is, we need to look at something that happened during the construction of the Pizzaplex. When that stolen animatronic was being used to clean up the broken parts, before it attacked everyone, it happened to pick up one particularly large piece of metal, the rib cage from the Springtrap animatronic, the same part that drove itself into William's organs and killed him. That part contained the majority of William's remnant, and when that remnant fed into the animatronic's AI chip, William awoke, full of anger and agony. He went on a killing spree until being locked up in the old building. Over time, while being trapped below, William began piecing himself back together with what was available to him. But once Vanessa is transferred to the Pizzaplex, William tasks her with clearing a path down to the old building to free him. Vanessa uses the glam rock Freddy animatronic to move heavy debris out of the way. What they didn't plan on was that Freddy would also come into contact with some remnant from the past. And that's when Henry suddenly found himself resurrected within the Freddy animatronic. One way or another, he was always destined to put the Freddy suit on one more time. Henry finds himself in yet another battle with William and tries to stop him. But William and Vanessa, or Vanny as she is now calling herself, have other plans. They recruit another reluctant follower, Gregory, a young boy who frequents the Pizzaplex. When given the chance to try the new VR gaming headset, he is immediately taken over by a copy of Glitch Trap. William and Vanessa use Gregory's proficiency in electronics and coding to hack into Freddy, putting Gregory in control and locking Henry out. William is able to complete the first part of his plan. He had pieced together a body with what he had, but this body would immediately be noticed if seen in the Pizzaplex. They install one of the charging stations down in his room. William climbs into the chamber and travels through the digital system and into Glamrock Bonnie. William now has a body that he can use to hide in plain sight, and Henry is powerless to stop him. Henry can't stop William all alone, but he isn't alone. When Edwin was trapped in the tree, he wasn't about to give up that easily. Using the tree's fiber optic roots, he transferred himself into the digital network of the Pizzaplex. When he noticed that William had taken over Glamrock Bonnie, Edwin couldn't allow that. That night, Edwin transferred himself through the network and into the Monty animatronic. He proceeds to hunt down William, smashing the Bonnie animatronic. He then leaves Monty and returns to the digital network, thinking that will be the end of it. Management takes notice of what the Monty and Bonnie animatronics were doing at night and assume that the storyteller tree that was supposed to control the animatronics must have been causing the problem. So the tree is removed from the building. Henry has been sidelined, and Edwin is unable to get back to the Monty suit. Now that the storyteller tree had been removed, Edwin needs help. So he calls upon someone else who has also been here for quite a while. Taking over the Pizzaplex was only part of William's plan. His ultimate goal was still to put his family back together. William and Vanny worked to place Michael's remnant into the Foxy animatronic that was being developed for a new log ride attraction. But when Michael woke, he freaked out.
I should be dead, but I'm not.
Michael wanted nothing to do with William's plans this time. While the crew didn't understand what happened, it was decided to cancel the Foxy log ride. Edwin happened to notice what happened. He helped hide Michael somewhere that William couldn't find him, but also a place where Fazbear Entertainment couldn't find out about him as well. Michael found himself in a difficult position. He can't exactly walk out of the building as a giant Foxy animatronic.
When we look like this,
The technicians would just bring him back, thinking there was something wrong with the animatronic. Or worse, they could force him to perform in the show. Edwin gave Michael what he always wanted: a quiet little place to just chill out and watch TV in peace. For a while, Michael was able to spend every day watching TV and hiding out in the building, doing his best to keep track of the days and nights he spent there. But now Henry is locked out of Freddy, Gregory needs help, and William is a threat once more. Edwin must call upon Michael one last time. He gives Michael instructions on how to help break William's control over Gregory. Certain arcade cabinets within the building act as nodes within the digital network, maintaining the glitch trap control over Gregory's mind. Michael is able to use his animatronic body within the physical world to take the Balloon Boy arcade game to a safe hideout and complete it, severing the connection and waking Gregory from William's control. Once Gregory's mind was freed, his control over Freddy was also broken, and Freddy reboots into safe mode, allowing Henry to control it once more. Henry helps protect and guide Gregory, while Vanessa hunts them throughout the night. They work their way down to the basement and discover William's lair, along with Vanny's bed, where she's been sleeping at night. And that's when William emerges from the charging station, back within the makeshift body he had left there. Henry and Gregory fight off William's attacks as he sends the other Glamrock animatronics under his control. Henry must battle to resist William's attempts to take control of the Freddy animatronic as well, giving Gregory enough time to ignite the burners in the old pizza place building. Henry and Gregory make a run for it, and William gives chase. Suddenly, out of the darkness, the other forgotten souls who have also been trapped here for years appear. The Tangle grabs William and pulls him into the darkness. Henry and Gregory escape the building. While they may have escaped, William still has control over Vanessa. With his backup body destroyed, William is forced to retreat to a safe place. They had tracked down and retrieved a very old piece of equipment, a large storage computer designed to house digital entities. William has a place to hide out, for now. They hide it down below the Pizzaplex, where they don't think anybody will find it. Vanny sets up security nodes around the building to prevent anyone from finding their way down below and discovering their secret. She retrieves an old prototype Freddy from storage as a replacement for the one that escaped, but someone intervened and smashed the prototype Freddy. Who could that have been? Perhaps somebody out there still cared about Vanessa. Remember Jeremy? Jeremy always liked Vanessa. He also knew firsthand what it was like to be controlled by Glitchtrap and didn't want to abandon her to that fate. Jeremy had become a technician at the Pizzaplex. Using his Faz wrench to access any part of the building, he began investigating, looking for a way to break the Glitchtrap control over Vanessa. Of course, Jeremy did have some help. Guided by Edwin, he completed the Princess Quest games, severing the connection node to her brain, allowing Vanessa to escape the Pizzaplex as well. And that's the end, right? Not quite. Jeremy had a child as well, a daughter named Cassie. When he left to go save Vanessa, Cassie was left home alone. That's when she began receiving electronic messages, transmissions from Gregory, telling her that he was trapped below the Pizzaplex and needed her to save him. Cassie knew Gregory. Cassie's dad worked at Freddys, and her birthday was going to be held there. But on the day of her birthday, not a single guest showed up. She was all alone, without a single friend, and that's when Gregory reached out and cheered her up. She needed to save Gregory, so she heads to the now closed and partially destroyed Pizzaplex. She finds a Roxy-talkie device, and Gregory speaks to her from the other side, guiding her through the building and avoiding William's traps. She is also given a Vanny mask, allowing her to see the digital world that connects everything, as well as the ability to see through the illusions set up by Vanessa. Then, once she finally reaches the bottom, she finds the Mexis machine housing William. She enables the security protocol on the computer and locks William inside, trapped and cut off from the Pizzaplex systems, alone in the darkness. Speaking of alone in the darkness, there was something else still locked below, on the other side of the wall. A wall put up to close off the tunnels that William had dug. When Fazbear reopened Freddys at the vintage pizzeria all those years ago, William had one concern. And now, all these years later, while exploring below the foundation, Fazbear discovers the old tunnels that lead back to William's underground facility, and the secrets he kept buried. The technicians find a box with old animatronic pieces in it. When they put the pieces back together, something woke up. A thing that was the combination of two boys, Cassidy Afton and David Murray. Two boys who were in many ways mirror reflections of each other. Both lost their mothers at a young age. Both had fathers who were too focused on their work to properly watch over them. Both died tragically on their birthday. And both had fathers who obsessed over trying to bring them back to life through an animatronic body after they died. And then both were abandoned by those fathers when those plans didn't work out. They were alike in many ways, but there were differences too. One grew up in a wealthy family with a large house and lots of toys, while the other grew up poor in a small house with very few belongings. Cassidy has memories of the circus from when he was very young, while David has memories of the inventions that his father used to create. One remembers having part of his face sliced off, while the other remembers having their head bitten. Two boys, stitched together and haunting the tunnels like a wraith in the darkness. Always on the outside, wanting to join the fun, trapped below, only able to listen and learn. That's when a young girl left alone by her father received a radio transmission. When Cassie smashed the concrete that sealed William's tunnel, she discovered that it wasn't Gregory down there at all.
I'm Gregory.
Terrified, she ran. The creature started to chase her. She tries to escape using the elevator. Once she's in range, the real Gregory is able to contact her over the radio. But then, Gregory tells her they can't risk being followed and sends the elevator plummeting back down. That would be a strange thing to say. But first, you may be thinking, we've seen so many faces from the past show up again in the future. Surely that must be everyone, right? I have one more thing to share with you. While Michael was using the Foxy animatronic within the physical world, Edwin was doing his part on the digital side. After removing the copy of Glitchtrap from Gregory's chip, Edwin made a swap. Freeing Gregory was just the first step. While Gregory was quite smart, he would still be in immediate danger once freed. Vanessa could hunt him down, grab him, and they could recopy Glitchtrap into his chip. Michael's one chance to free Gregory would all be for nothing. Their cover would be blown. He had another way to help Gregory, though. As Glitchtrap was removed from Gregory's chip, Michael was quietly slipped into place.
If we looked like you...
He tries his best to stay hidden and to not interfere with Gregory's memories.
I'm Gregory.
Along for the ride, as Gregory and Henry escaped the building, but also there to protect him, giving him subtle guidance. But Edwin wasn't quite done yet. While working with Edwin, Jeremy was able to play through the Princess Quest arcade games. Jeremy would do anything to free Vanessa, and Edwin had a proposal. A fair trade. Edwin had taken back control of the building from William. He was once again king of the castle. Vanessa obviously wanted to be free of William's control, so William would be out, but Edwin still had another that was more deserving of taking his place. While Henry and Edwin had been battling William at the Pizzaplex, someone else had been helping them as well. Charlotte had woken to see William once again trying to take over Freddy Fazbear's, and she has one message for him. She couldn't stop him, but she could help slow him down, sending wave after wave of staff bots under her control. Through the digital network, Edwin guided Charlotte into Vanessa's chip and removed the last copy of Glitchtrap. But Charlotte wasn't alone. There was someone else that had been quietly hiding in the background, nearly invisible, someone who knew how to hide and
pretend.
William had already placed Elizabeth into Vanessa's mind. All she had to do was lay low and wait. At first, they were two, but now they are one. At any point, Elizabeth could have helped William by stopping Vanessa from escaping, but she didn't. Perhaps someone was able to help her see the truth about William.
He manipulated you. It wasn't your fault.
Michael would most likely forgive Elizabeth for what she had done to him, now that he had experienced things from her point of view. This completed the ultimate resurrection, taking digital copies of these dead children and bringing them back to life within real human bodies. A happy end for everyone, right? But what about Cassidy and David? They were still trapped below, and of course Cassie as well. Speaking of Cassie, when she ran into the tunnels, there were a few ways it could play out. When the elevator fell, she could have died, and her soul could join with Cassidy and David, or she could survive, and what happens next could be anybody's guess. That wouldn't be so bad. But what if? She ran and reached the scooping room. Cassie escapes, but Cassidy and David are grabbed by the scooper. Seems like a sad ending for them. But then, you have to remember, when we see the scooper, something else usually isn't far behind. The tangle. When the tangle grabs Cassidy and David, the missing children victims contained within combine with them. Cassidy, David, Susie, Fritz, Gabriel, and Jeremy are all together. The whole group of friends reunited. A happiest day for everyone. Except for William, of course. Speaking of which, William was still contained within the Mexis machine. If someone were to say, load that into a Fazbear van, he could end up anywhere. Perhaps a story for another day. Which brings us to the end of today's story. A story of choices and consequences, but also a story that raises interesting philosophical questions. At what point does the artificial become so realistic that it's indistinguishable from reality? Could you be talking to a synthetic mind and not even realize it? The technology may not be perfect yet, but the future is quickly approaching, and who knows what might be watching, listening, learning. I do hope you've enjoyed today's story. I apologize if I've misremembered some parts, as my memory may not be what it once was, but as long as you were entertained, then I feel that I've done my job. And with that, I would just like to say, thank you all for listening, and remember to have a Faz-tastic day.